My name is Tatiana Maslany, and I play Petra in Destroyer, who is part of Silas's gang. For me, when I first read the script, the fact that it has this kind of cyclical sort of aspect to it felt very new and very feminine somehow. In that I think these films often have like a linear sort of very masculine structure to them when you kind of think back to like the 70s like crime thrillers. But this film being like a female lead directed by a woman and having this sort of cyclical nature to the story was so exciting to me. And also this idea of looking at people at different points in their life and the change between those points. My character goes through a massive shift over the course of the piece, and sort of seeing what the ravages of time have done to her is kind of really exciting. She has such an interesting legacy of work that's so varied and so specific to her, and Girl Fight and The Invitation are very different films, and I think that she has a real sense of like an undertone of violence to her work, but also with this massive sensitivity and empathy towards all of her characters, and I think that's a real interesting thing that she brings to the work. And she's also really encouraging of her actors to go to places that aren't necessarily the most beautiful or morally kind of clean or whatever. She sort of encourages you to reveal the darker parts of what it is to be human. I think it was super refreshing to have a female perspective in this kind of storytelling, because there are so many aspects to it that are kind of tropes that we've seen in male-driven films before, but never seen them with a female protagonist like Nicole's character. Her empathy towards her characters is so deep, and her understanding of what it is to be human. She's very open with her own stories and very much shares that with her actors in a way that allows you then to open up those parts of yourself. And she doesn't judge any character. She has no judgment, which is very freeing as an actor to know that your character is loved by the director and isn't fulfilling just sort of like a trope or like a slotting into a place somehow, but is very much has their own story, their own voice, and is important. And I think that makes all of us feel very a lot of ownership over the piece. All of us in the gang, we all had our own points of view and our own perspective and our own stories, even if we were in it for a very brief amount of time. But Karyn really gives you that that ownership, and it's really exciting to work with her. Petra was like the princess of the gang in that she was sort of a wealthy girl who fell into this world out of a deep need for something else, something other than the comfort that she felt, because she didn't feel safe in the comfort. A lot of stuff had happened to her as a young woman that caused her to seek out family in a different way. And I think she found that in the gang and in Silas, in sort of being his chosen one. And I think he has that sort of effect on all of the gang and on Erin and Chris even, that he owns you a bit. And I think Petra was very susceptible to that. We see her sort of fall into this addiction, not only to the drugs and the lifestyle, but also to his seeing of her, the way he sees her. And she sort of can't get out of that and can't extricate herself from it. So she was, I don't remember exactly what the process was of getting into her, but it was very organic. And when we were in those scenes, working in the gang house and stuff like that, it just all felt very real, and you could kind of fall into that world in a really immersive way. Younger Petra is sort of playing at something. She sort of wishes she was like this group, wishes she fit into this group. She's doing everything she can to fit in and be part of this group and not be the rich girl that, that she actually is, the kind of sheltered, taken care of young woman. She's doing everything not to be that. Whereas when we see her later, she's so deep in it, and I think dreams of being the other thing, dreams of like that safety and that family. But I think the transformation really is of the addiction taking over her whole life, and that is in various different ways. Her body is deteriorated, her mind, her self-esteem, all of this stuff has sort of eroded to the point that she's kind of operating on autopilot in a lot of ways and sort of just going through the motions of her own life. I've worked with the stunt guys a bit on that scene before. We worked on the gun work a bit, and then a bit of the physical kind of fight, but really it was about like Nicole and I figuring it out on the day and sort of finding what felt real. And she is so strong. She was so amazing and so powerful, and I had been such a fan of her work for decades, like just, she's in so many of my favorite films that I've watched thousands of times. But to be with her in this sort of really physical, animal kind of fight, it was so amazing to watch her conjure that aspect of herself. And that, she was tough. She was really tough. I feel like as soon as I knew that Nicole was stepping into the part of Belle, I was like, oh my God, this movie is going to be so different than what I pictured, because she takes these massive risks as an actor. Huge character choices, huge transformation choices, throughout her career, never kind of settling into one way of being. And so for her to take this part that was even more different and even more risky and bold, I was just so excited by that as an artist, to get to be witness to that and to see how that changed the entire structure and the sort of tone of the movie. And to watch her do that with such honesty and realness and no ego or vanity, and just she was just amazing. And I think she has continuously taken roles that challenge her as an artist, and I think that's the most inspiring thing. To watch her also within that embody vocally and physically a different way of being was really cool.